Hello guys, just recently I managed to receive a Kaypro 1983 machine, and this is the keyboard from it. I thought this keyboard was dead. When I tried to plug it into the Kaypro with a standard RJ10 phone cable, it didn't work. The caps lock light would come on, but aside from that there was no beep or anything that would suggest that it was working. Now, I wasn't going to give up on it straight away. One thing I found was, it had an RJ10 phone jack as the interface. The other thing I found was that it communicates over serial, so it should be a pretty quick and easy thing to test. And so I rigged up this little adapter. So I used this earlier on one of my projects to actually talk to the Kaypro using Hyperterminal on a modern netbook using the FTDI Basic. So as you can see, I've got a very short stub of phone wire to the connector to reduce the resistance, because I suspect that high cable resistance was the reason why we were having trouble. And I've got 3 wires connected to FTDI Basic, which is a 5V TTL USB to serial adapter. And so the 3 wires are ground, 5 volts, which provides a VCC to the keyboard, and also the RXD, so receive data, which will be coming from the keyboard at 300 baud. So let's see whether we can get this old keyboard working on a modern computer. Okay guys, so I've got the keyboard connected now. As you can see, it's a little bit of a mess. I've got the short stub with the wires poking out of the back into the FTDI Basic. So let's punch a few keys. You can see the RXD flashing quite nicely, and you can hear the keyboard's own internal beep speaker, which seemed to be a feature of the time. And you can see some text appeared in the Hyperterminal window. So why don't I go along and try to type out a few things. Test. It all seems to work, which is quite interesting, because I couldn't get this to work with a Kaypro using the phone cable. So I suspect the Kaypro engineers were right when they said that phone cable is not the same as their particular sort of cable. Phone cable just has a cable that's too thin to carry the current required to operate the ICs on the keyboard, and that's probably why it wasn't working as expected. So now that we know it works using the Hyperterminal, we can use something like replacement for serial keys called AAC keys, which allows you to use a serial input device as a keyboard under Windows. And this is normally used by people with accessibility problems that need to use, say, a third-party external keyboard of some sort. So here's a little test using the keyboard, trying to enter something into Notepad. And as expected, it seems to be working just fine. The interesting thing is, because everything is relayed as ASCII characters, the auto-repeat is actually handled by the keyboard. And another thing that's relatively interesting is that the control combination keys and escape and alt and the cursor keys seem to have a proprietary coding that's not compatible with AAC keys and will cause it to hang. So what follows is a little bit of typing, so you can actually hear what the keyboard sounds like when you're actually typing. It does make quite a bit of a din compared to regular keyboards, and it's got a rather interesting feel. It's not clicky and mechanical, but it's not. I wouldn't call it spongy. It's got quite a long travel in terms of the key stroke travel. And so it can be quite satisfying to type on.